So when I was growing up, as a young girl in Wisconsin actually, I was 10 years old when Carl Sagan's show Cosmos came on, public broadcasting. And as a 10-year-old, kind of living in rural Wisconsin, I had never really met an astronomer. That's not something you routinely meet. Whenever people tell me, you don't really seem like an astronomer, the wonderful next thing to ask is, how many astronomers do you know? So, my vision of what an astronomer was this man on this television show, on public television, Carl Sagan. And the thing that Carl did better than anybody else I'd ever seen was this emotional connection to the science. He loved to tell stories. He'd tell stories about the history, but also, it was from him that I learned where all of the atoms in my body come from, the fact they were all formed in stars. And when Carl talks about that on the show, we sort of made a joke that there are these things called Carl moments, where Carl sort of gazes dramatically off into space, and the camera sort of close up, there's a close-up on his face, and you can see him sort of emoting at how wonderful this is. And these days, decades later, those scenes seem a little bit silly and a little bit contrived. But as a child, I was taken along for this incredible emotional journey. Carl was a real rock star. He had this charisma, and people would just listen to what he was saying, and they would love to follow along with his stories. And that became to me the image of what a scientist was, what an astronomer was somebody that could tell the stories of the universe. So I never ended up meeting Carl. I always wanted to. He unfortunately died very young. He died in his early 60s. And I was a graduate student at the time. I always figured I would see him at some astronomy conference. I'd somehow, wander past him at one of these scientific meetings and tell him how much that his show had meant to me. But I never got that chance. I never left, though, that idea that what a scientist really does is tell stories. It's about the narrative. It's about the emotions. And Carl did that better than anyone I've ever seen.